Alright. Get this on. Get everything set up. And we should be good to go. Probably. Yeah, we should be good to go. We should be good to go. Okay. That's funny. Okay. All right. Whoa. Oh, okay. I think I'm gonna need to step into this. Let's lock into this. Let's lock into this. Let's lock into this. All right. Let's get started with this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. What is up? What is good? What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. So, we've had time to sit on this. We've had time to digest the news. Obviously, the massive bombshell that hit our timelines yesterday. The Ravens trading 2 first-round picks to the Las Vegas Raiders for Max Crosby. That was one hell of a situation. The Max Crosby trade is insane, and we sit here now with the aftermath of that, and we kind of take a look at this whole situation. So yeah, when I was speaking about this yesterday, I'm always glad when I can be proven right with more details and more confirmation about what I was saying. When I spoke on this trade yesterday, I said this was unprecedented because the Ravens have they've never made a move like this. They've never made a trade like this. They've never done anything like this before. I've been a fan of this team since 03, 04. I've been here for well over 20 years. And in that time span, I don't remember a single moment when the Ravens have ever traded away a first round pick to go get a player. That's never happened before. Well, I was right about that. I think many of us knew that was the case. A lot of longtime fans know that the Ravens have never done something like this before. So this move here, they traded 2 firsts, in fact. This is the first time in franchise history that the Ravens have traded away a first-round pick for a player. They've never done this before. They've traded up in the draft. They've traded down in the draft. They've moved that first-round pick around, but they've never actually traded a first-round pick to go get a player. This is a situation where they traded 2 firsts to go get somebody. So this is something that we've never seen before. The franchise has never done this. And that's a big part of why I was very adamant in my statement when I said the Ravens aren't getting Max Crosby because this is not something they've ever done in franchise history, and EDC has never made a move to give up 2 first-round draft picks to go get a player. This has never happened in the history of this franchise. This has never happened. A trade like this has never happened for the Ravens, strictly because they don't make trades like this. It's never been something they've done before. So to see them do this here, it's shocking. It's amazing, but it's also shocking. The Ravens never make moves like this. But it just goes to show you how serious they are about winning a championship as soon as possible. I sat back and said that Jesse Minter has to get this done within the first 2 years because that obviously he's going to have more time, but it seems like Steve is pressing the issue to win now. The Ravens are in win now mode. They've never been in win now mode the way they are in win now mode now. Because with the way they were operating prior to this moment, you could tell they were still in win now mode, but they weren't pressing the issue. because they still felt like they were good enough to get it done since they were still competing. That speaks on the complacency I was talking about. Obviously, if you guys remember, our former head coach, John Harbaugh, he was on some podcast. I think it was not this previous offseason. I think it was the offseason before. You remember the quote when he sat back and said, anybody that's talking about Super Bowl or bust has never really won anything significant in sports, so they don't know what they're talking about? He's basically sitting here confirming it's not Super Bowl or bust for the Ravens and was dismissing that. That was our head coach at the time, dismissing the aspect of the team being in a Super Bowl or bust situation. They were clearly in a Super Bowl or bust situation, and our former head coach was dismissing that. And as you can see, they were failing to get the job done. They weren't even coming close. The one year they came close, they blew it at home. First AFC title game in Baltimore in 50 years, and they blew it. So when you already have that mindset that it's not Super Bowl or bust, you can get complacent, which means you're not going to take risky moves. But now that the complacency king in John Harbaugh is gone, and now that the real Steve Scotty has shown up, because this is who he is, he's come out and put the pressure. Harbaugh's gone. EDC can no longer just sit back and be complacent right next to his buddy. Him and John can't be complacent together because John is gone now. And Steve knows that both those guys were being complacent. However, EDC was still doing a relatively decent job in getting certain players here. He wasn't being aggressive, but he had done a decent enough job that Steve sat back and was willing to give EDC a chance. So EDC knows with Steve giving him this chance, he's on a tight leash. His job is on the line. His job is in jeopardy. He has to deliver. He has to deliver this offseason, or he could be gone too. So with that mindset, with that clearly being the case, making a move like this, doing something the franchise has never done before, makes total sense. It makes complete sense that the Ravens are going to make a risky move like this because they've never had to take risks like this before. They found a way to win a Super Bowl in 2012 without taking this type of risk. And even in that situation, people forget there were multiple things that needed to be changed. We got rid of our offensive coordinator. We had to literally switch one of our offensive linemen because he was doing a terrible job. We had to make changes that year. And, you had a little bit of a divine intervention with the Hail Mary, the Mile High Miracle stuff. There was a lot that went into that Super Bowl run. But changes needed to be made within the season for that to happen. Since then, they've pretty much stuck with the norm that they've always stuck with, and it hasn't gotten them anywhere. You'd already won a championship, so you thought, hey, this is the formula, let's stick to the norm. We don't have to be aggressive. You tried that in the Lamar Jackson era. You've stuck with this norm throughout this man's career. It's giving you some opportunities. You haven't been able to capitalize on those opportunities. At some point, you have to make that change. And that's where we sit today with the Ravens making that change. You move on from John Harbaugh, you bring in Jesse Minter, you start the Minter era. He brings in an entirely new coaching staff, and now you got EDC making an aggressive move to go get Max Crosby for 2 first-round picks, doing something the Ravens have never done before in franchise history. They've never traded away a first-round pick to go get a player. It's never happened before. They've traded away a player to get a first-round pick. We saw that with Hollywood Brown recently. They traded away Hollywood Brown to get a first-round pick, and they used said first-round pick to draft Tyler Linderbaum. We're kind of getting into that point, man. We're kind of getting to that point where the methods that they were utilizing before, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. So now they're at the point where they have to try something else. What's going on, guys? We need offensive linemen. We're going to get into that because the Ravens aren't done yet. They still got a lot of work to do. What's up, man? Can't believe we got Max Crosby. While I didn't think EDC would do it, best trade in Ravens history. Well, at least since I've been a fan. I've been a fan since 2016. I've never seen this happen before. Yeah, I could see, definitely best trade in quite a long time. It's going to be tough on Burrow having to face Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, and TJ Watt 6 times a year. He'll be fine. All of his offensive linemen are healthy. He'll be fine. Ravens still won't get past the divisional. If that ends up being the case, that ends up being the case. But you have to make a change. They kept doing the same thing over and over again, and they weren't getting over the hump. They made these changes to get over the hump. If you make these changes and you still can't get over the hump, you got to take a serious look at what you have around you. You got to take a serious look at the players. You got to take a serious look at your leaders. And that includes Lamar Jackson. If they can't get past the divisional this year, if they fall short and they're making the same mistakes, then that's more on the players than the coaching. Go back. I'm telling you, I got to make that I got to do that live stream. People really need to go back and actually watch these playoff games and see how the Ravens are losing. People need to actually take a look at this. It's not, a lot of these situations aren't situations where the Ravens are just getting flat out beat. Some of the playoff losses, they got flat out beat. But a lot of these playoff games, they're literally shooting themselves in the foot and losing in the most painful way possible that they have no business losing. There's games where you'll see teams get dominated in the playoffs. There's games where you'll see teams just come up short because they didn't have enough. And then you watch the Ravens in the playoffs and you're like, this doesn't make sense. How can a team with this much talent, how can a team that's supposed to be one of the best in the league, how can they look like this in the playoffs? How can you be a completely different team in the postseason from what you were in the regular season? How can the team collectively look like that? Because everyone just thinks it's one player. That's not the case. If it was one player, it'd be very clear. But the fact of the matter is, it's everybody. And we just saw this year, you can have your quarterback turn the ball over multiple times and you can still win a playoff game. But that's not the case with the Ravens. For some reason, collectively, they find a way to massively underperform. Sometimes I just wished it was just a Lamar thing so I could just make videos and be like, Lamar, you got to lock in, buddy. But it's never just a Lamar thing. All of a sudden, the offensive line won't have problems in the regular season. When we are a competitive team and a team that looks to be a contender, they'll be fine. Come playoff time, all of a sudden, Ronnie Stanley don't know how to block. All of a sudden, Tyler Linderbaum is snapping the ball outward to the left, outward to the right, too high. He's not doing that in the regular season, but come playoff time, that's the case. People don't notice this. He's gone now. But go look at those playoff games from 2018 to 2024. Go look at how Tucker performed. He missed multiple field goals that we normally expect him to make. I don't know what it is about the Ravens in this era when they get into the playoffs. The defense can create turnovers in the regular season. They can't create turnovers in the playoffs. The defense can get to the quarterback in the regular season. They can't touch the quarterback in the playoffs. The offense can make plays in the regular season. In the playoffs, they're dropping passes and they can't get open. In the regular season, the defense is able to block relatively well. In the postseason, they can't protect the quarterback to save their lives. And even at times, you'll watch Lamar. The way he'll play in the regular season ain't the same way he play in the postseason at times. And it's not a whole thing where Lamar's just playing poorly. It's just like he and the team collectively play an entirely different game, and nobody understands why. You saw it with the coaching. You saw it with the performance on the field. Collectively as a team, they just weren't playing the same way, and they were making mistakes you never see them make. And it's so weird. The things that they were doing in the regular season, they weren't doing in the postseason as a team. And that's what's been costing them in the playoffs. So now you're making improvements on the roster. You've fired your head coach, a new head coach with an entirely new coaching staff. If they get into the playoffs and retool this team to a point where they can compete, and they get to the playoffs and you get rid of those mental mistakes and they still can't get over the hump, now you got to take a look at your leaders. Are you guys doing enough to get the job done? And those will be conversations we'll have when we cross that bridge. I'm scared for our offensive line next season. We don't know what our offensive line is going to be next season. Free agency hasn't even started. You guys realize that, right? Today is the 7th. Free agency doesn't start till the 11th. We don't know what our offensive line is going to be when the season starts. Trading for a 29-year-old edge while banking mentors is the next Mike McDonald. Max Crosby's 28. I don't know why you guys keep pushing 29. I guess because he's going to be 29 by the time the season starts. But if you're going to talk about the man in present day, he's 28 years old. Second, when did 29 become this old? Like, again, I don't understand you guys. When did 29 become old for an NFL player? Especially a defensive player. When did 29 become old for a defensive player? You'll have defensive players in their mid to late 30s still being one of the best in the league. And all of a sudden, 29 years old, which again, he's 28, not 29, but 29 years old is all of a sudden old. Like, I don't get this mindset here. I don't get this mindset here. I really don't. Your prime is what in your late 20s to early 30s is literally when players are at their prime. But all of a sudden, being a 29-year-old pass rusher is a problem. That's a real danger. From what? He's literally in his prime right now. I don't know how you guys assess these players. I really don't. I really don't. Because you always make it seem like it's a bad thing based off of what he's in his prime. They traded for a 39-year-old player, not 39. They traded for a 29-year-old player, not a 39-year-old player. And again, he's 28, but again, everyone's saying 29 because he's going to be 29 by the time the season starts. But y'all acting like they just traded for a player in his late 30s who's going to be out of the league soon. He's in his prime. What are y'all going on about? And then banking on Minter to be the next Mike Macdonald. Minter has to be himself. We saw what he did with the Chargers defense. We saw what he did with the Chargers defense. The Chargers had a bottom 5 defense when they fired Brandon Staley. Minter went in the very first year. He turned them into a top 5 defense. And last year, they were a top 10 defense. And if you take a look at the roster construction and the talent on that defense, you could tell he maximized the amount of talent that was on that defense because they weren't really talented. They don't have a lot of talented guys, especially in that secondary. He maximized what's there. So no one's banking on him being the next Mike Macdonald. He's got to be himself. He's got to be himself and showcase what he can do. No one trying to say, you got to be the next Mike Macdonald. No. Be the best Jesse Minter you can be. How you were able to turn around that defense, we expect you to take that next step here. Because at the end of the day, you'll never be able to showcase you can do this until you actually get into that role. Sean McVay didn't become Sean McVay until they gave him a chance to be a head coach. So this aspect of banking on, no one's banking on him being Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald is his own man. Jesse Minter is his own man. Mike Macdonald found his success. Congratulations on winning a Super Bowl. Jesse Minter's trying to get the job done here in Baltimore. A great opportunity for him. He's trying to secure his own legacy as a new head coach. So no one's doing this whole, you're banking on him being the next Mike Macdonald. No, we want Jesse Minter to be himself, and we want Jesse Minter to build a culture here that can help us get over the hump. That's got nothing to do with Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald's his own man. Jesse Minter's his own man. And this aspect of 29 all of a sudden being old. So at this point, if that's the mindset, why don't these NFL players just retire once they hit 30? Everybody should retire after hitting 30. Because we're watching, there's players in their 30s still playing at an all-pro level. And y'all sitting here talking about 29-year-old edge rusher. He's literally in his prime. Your late 20s and your early 30s is literally the range when a player's in his prime. But all of a sudden, a 29-year-old edge rusher, how could you trade for that? Okay. I don't know. Some of y'all just be chatting. Some of y'all just be chatting. Some of y'all really just be chatting. Offense has to be priority now. Trade for Brian Thomas Jr. I don't know if they're going to do anything like that, but free agency, they'll be active in that case because they're going to have to get they're probably going to draft a receiver, but the Ravens love to have a veteran receiver on the team, so they're going to look for a veteran receiver. Keep this in mind. Yeah, Myles Garrett is matter of fact, I can pull up his age right now. Myles Garrett is the best defensive player in football. He's the best defensive player in football. He's 30 years old. But all of a sudden, a guy that's younger than that, that's been one of the best in the league, all of a sudden that's a problem. I don't know how you guys operate, man. Anytime you want to slander something, you just start saying things that just sound it just sounds like you're chatting. I'm not going to sit it back in this one, but it just sounds like you're chatting. He's a 29. You traded for a 29-year-old edge rusher? Yeah, because he's in his prime and he's one of the best players at his position. You acting like we traded for a 37-year-old pass rusher that's going to be out the league in 2 years. What are you going on about? I don't know. Some of y'all just be chatting. Man. Some of y'all just be chatting. But, yeah, the Ravens want a veteran receiver, so they're going to be active in free agency to try to get that veteran receiver. I don't know if they're going to trade for Brian Thomas. I don't know if that would be the case. I don't even know if they're going to engage in any more trades for for any other player past this. But there are some free agent receivers they're going to try to look at, and we'll go from that aspect there. But the Ravens are going to have to be active in free agency. And that was the next point I was going to get into after closing the book on the Max Crosby trade and saying moving forward what the Ravens need to do next. Let's see here. Time for Burrow to retire. Burrow's not retiring. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He will be fine. Big risk with this trade, but I like Max. Not sure about Minter. A lot to ask of a rookie coach. Again, we never know how this is going to work out. But in order for these guys to be great, they got to have the opportunity to showcase they can do it. People had 17 million questions when Seattle moved on from Pete Carroll to Mike McDonald, and within 2 years he was in the Super Bowl. You're not expecting this to all of a sudden be some sort of miracle work. That's why I gave Minter 2 years. I don't know if this is a year one project. I think this first year you can really look to establish it, and once you've established the culture you want to build in year one, you could take a shot to see if you can get it. But if not, year two, you would be much more prepared. That's why I'm leaning more towards them being able to get this done in year two than year one. But they're trying to get this done in year one. And if that's the case, I'm all for it. If you can get it done in year one. But that's the aspect for that. But yeah, there was a big risk for Seattle to take Mike McDonald because you were moving off of Pete Carroll. But I've said this a million times. You don't get anywhere in sports if you're not willing to take risk. You have to take risks in order to get somewhere. The Toronto Raptors traded for Kawhi Leonard knowing he did not want to be there and he was going to be a one-year rental. They moved off of one of their cornerstones in DeMar DeRozan. Keep this in mind. LeBron left the East. The only reason the Raptors couldn't get to the finals is because they kept running into LeBron. LeBron left the Eastern Conference, went to the Western Conference when he joined the Lakers, and the biggest problem left the conference. It was wide open. But the Raptors still did not feel comfortable. So they took a risk by going and trading for Kawhi Leonard when everybody and their grandmother knew he didn't want to go to Toronto. He wanted to be in LA, and he was going to be a one-year rental. They took that risk and traded for him because they believed they could win a championship that year with him. And what happened? They won the championship and Kawhi left. Investment well spent. You've got to be willing to take risks. We talk about the Rams all the time taking risks. You've got to be willing to take risks if you're going to move forward in sports. You cannot just be complacent. You could try to play it safe. If your goal is to stay competitive and be a competitive football team that can occasionally make the playoffs and take a shot at trying to go to Super Bowl, fine. But if your goal is to win the championship, you have to be willing to take risk. You have to be willing to take chances. If you don't do that, you're never going to be anywhere more. You'll never be anything more than what you already are. If you're not willing to take risks, you will never be more than what you already are. And if you've watched the track record of the Ravens in this era, they haven't been anything more than they've already been. They've been a Super Bowl contending team for years. They've made the playoffs multiple times. They won their division multiple times. They've been the 1 seed multiple times. And yet, this approach that they've utilized has not garnered a Super Bowl championship. So now it's time to take some risk. You took a risk by moving off of John Harbaugh, a Super Bowl winning head coach. And you got a new head coach in Jesse Minter who's never been a head coach now. And now you take a shot, a huge risk, by going and trading 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby. Will it work out? We don't know. But in sports, you can never get to those heights. You can never be more than what you already are if you aren't willing to take risks. Baltimore's tired of being complacent. Better yet, Steve is tired of the complacency. He wants a championship now, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to get it done. That's why EDC did something the franchise has never done. Trade a first-round pick for a player. They've never done that before. They're not going to be complacent. So when it comes to free agency, there'll be some concerns. But again, EDC knows his job's on the line. I don't expect him to be complacent. They're going to be aggressive in free agency. They still got a bunch of draft picks that they can utilize. They're going to be aggressive in free agency because they have to be aggressive in free agency because his job is literally on the line. If he cannot fix the trenches or at least significantly improve the trenches this offseason, he's gone. And he knows it. That's why everybody was pointing it out in the press conference. Everybody knows. So he knows what's up. That's why he took this chance. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you take that risk if you want to get somewhere. Simple as that. Let's see. Do you think we make a move for another wide receiver? DeAndre Hopkins and Tylan Wallace are going to be free agents, so they're going to make a move for multiple. They're going to make a move for multiple receivers. So yeah, they have. I think right now their wide receiver room is essentially going to be Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Tez Walker. So they're going to have to make some moves for receivers because Wallace is probably going to be gone. They're not going to resign him, and who knows if they're going to bring D-Hop back. So essentially, you're going to have 3 wide receivers. They're going to have to make some moves. Let's see. Don't forget also, bro, the Eagles tried to trade 3 first-round picks for Garrett. Philadelphia is always willing to take those type of risks, and it's worked out in their favor. They've been to 2 Super Bowls and won 1. You got to take risks if you're going to go anywhere in the league. Doesn't mean it always works out, but you got to be willing to take those risks. Those that complain about Crosby obviously haven't seen his stats since 2019. Yeah, I'm not interested in getting into the aspects of stats and all that other stuff. People have been doing that all over Twitter, and I'm not interested in engaging in the conversation when it comes to that. Bring it back, Hollywood Brown. I'm going to leave that up to you guys in terms of how you feel about that. Fan base is still divided about that. Chris Bell or Jacob Rodriguez in the second round. Whoever they choose to go with, we'll see. Are we getting another weapon or taking a chance on Tez? The Ravens always want to have a veteran receiver. So they're going to get a veteran receiver, and then they're probably going to look to draft the receiver as well in the later rounds. That's probably how they're going to replace replace Tylan Wallace and DeAndre Hopkins, if they choose not to bring Hopkins back. But we'll see. The only way someone can get experience is if they're given the chance. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it firsthand with the Miami Heat with Eric Spoelstra. And people, dude, I still remember in 2010 when people were calling for Spoelstra's job. Hell, LeBron and the others were calling for his job. They wanted Pat Riley to come back and coach. We saw how that turned out. Pat Riley said, no, this is the guy. Deal with it. Pat Riley took that risk in his protege. And now Eric Spoelstra is one of the greatest coaches we've ever seen. He's future Hall of Famer, one of the greatest coaches to ever coach in the NBA. You got to be willing to take risks. Can't rely on the draft. Man, people are pulling up the Ravens draft. Remember when the Ravens had all these damn draft picks? Where they had like one draft, they had 10 picks. The other draft, they had 11. People are pulling up the 2021 and 2022 draft picks. If you take a look at it, for 2021, the only one that's pretty much left on the roster is Rashad Bateman. 2022, if they can't re-sign Linderbaum, the only person that's left is literally going to be Kyle Hamilton. In 2022, they had like 11 picks. They have not been killing it. They've been finding gems here and there, but finding depth within your starters, it has not worked out in their favor. 2022 was good, though. I didn't say 2022 was bad. What I'm saying is they haven't retained those guys. 2022 was fine, but they haven't retained a lot of those guys. Isaiah Likely's about to be gone. He was in 2022. Tyler Linderbaum could be gone. He was also in 2022. Charlie Kolar was in 2022. He might not return. That was a good draft. But I don't know if they're going to sign these guys. And right now what my mindset is, if we're going to draft players and keep them here 3-4 years, and then we're not going to give them a huge contract, what's the point in holding on to all these picks if we're not going to sign these guys down the stretch? You keep them here for 3-4 years, and then you let them go into free agency? That's what we're doing these picks? I'm not vibing with that. If we're going to have all these damn picks and then we're going to have all these damn picks, use them, and in 2 to 3 years, a majority of them are gone, and then in another year, you don't even sign them? Like, that's the tough part here. Linderbaum, we'll get into the Linderbaum conversation because recent events has made things very hard for Tyler Linderbaum and his agent. But we'll get into that in a moment. Should we sign Linderbaum back? Yes, but we should not overpay him. We should not overpay him. Raiders screw what? Raiders screw Ravens. Now Ravens got 2 crybabies on board. Let's go Raiders. That's great, man. That's great. That's great. Ravens are suspect. Yeah, I think they still have a lot of stuff they have to fix. They're not even done fixing the whole entire aspect of their defense. Getting Max Crosby was a great start, but they still probably need one or two more pieces for their D line. They need one or two more pieces for that front seven, and they're probably going to need a corner as well. So they're not done with the defense yet. Guys, free agency has not started. This is not the finished product. We have to come back at the end of April to see the finished product. It's not over yet. Free agency hasn't even started. They've got several things. They still got to figure one or two more pieces on that front seven, and they got to get a corner. They've got to fix their interior offensive line. They've got to figure out the wide receiver situation. They're not done yet. Free agency has not started yet. They've got several holes. So, yeah, the Ravens are suspect. I would assume they're suspect because their team's not complete, and they're about to lose a bunch of players. Can we see what happens once free agency starts? They're not about to go play a regular season game tomorrow. We are in March. Free agency doesn't start till Wednesday. They've got gaping holes they have to fix. Can we see what happens at least in free agency and after the draft and then assess the team? Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Let's be serious here. Stephon Diggs, no. That's a funny one, but no. Would I take Flowers on my fantasy team? I don't really play fantasy like that, so that wouldn't be my first choice, but maybe like wide receiver 3 or 4, maybe, I guess. But I don't know. I'm not really huge on fantasy football. Max Epad, 4th round draft pick, never was MVP or carried as captain, number 1 defense in 7 years. Injuries, knee, crybaby, drama queen, selfish. Thank God Raiders dropped Max. That's cool. That's cool, man. That's cool. Jack and Drees would be a good replacement for likely tight end out of Texas. They'd probably look to get him in the later rounds, maybe. I think they're also going to draft the tight end because, again, I don't think Likely's coming back. They're not going to be able to retain Likely, and I'm not 100% sure they'll get back Kolar. So they'll need to draft the tight end. And even if they get back Kolar, they like keeping 3 tight ends. So they're going to draft the tight end in the later rounds like they've always done. And they've been able to hit on that recently. First with Isaiah Likely, second with Charlie Kolar. So we'll see. Back was MVP. It wasn't a snitch like Crosby. That's great, bro. I don't care. I don't care. Like you said, he's not the Raiders' problem anymore. Why are you still crying about it? It's over. Cool. We got the crybaby. You got your draft picks. Everybody's happy. We can move on, man. I'm not going to attack the dude personally. Move on. Like, you got what you wanted. He's gone. You ain't got to still cry about it. He's gone. You ain't got to cry about it. You ain't got to talk about the man's name. You ain't got to talk about him in a negative fashion. He's gone. You wanted him gone. You got your 2 first-round draft picks. Congratulations. We'll take crybaby Crosby. You take your 2 first-round picks. Everybody's happy. Move on. I'll just sit back and say this. I really, really, really do hope the Raiders don't mess this up. Because you can have all the draft picks in the world. If you end up drafting a bunch of duds and this don't work out, someone's getting fired in that front office. But I really do hope you get this done. I really do. Because we've seen in the past teams have a bunch of draft picks and just completely mess that up because they drafted a bunch of duds. I hope the Raiders don't do that. They're on a full set rebuild. I hope they get it done. That's great, bro. That's great. F you, I think it's funny. Raiders, that's cool, bro. That's cool. And I love how you're telling me to F off, but you're in my stream. You can piss off too. Why are you here? Go engage with other Raiders fans. Man, say like, I think it's funny. Cool. Go engage with other Raiders fans and tell them it's funny. Why are you here? He's going to come and like, I think it's funny, so F off. Okay, then piss off, dude. Bye. Why are you here? You're just here to cry and complain about it. If you thought it was funny, go have that laughter with other Raiders fans that agree with you. You're on a Ravens live stream to do what? Trash the dude? Like, bro, just go. And now he's just being racist. What a disgusting human being. You guys come on the internet and just be disgusting. Really, really sick human beings over sports. Just sad. Really just sad. Let's see. A kid looking to troll. These kids don't have manners nowadays. You can't help them. Really sad. Really, really sad. These are the type of individuals that grow up and be dangerous individuals. You got to worry about these type of people. Seriously. You got to worry about these type of people. I block him. I don't block these type of people. Like, again, I don't block these type of people. They're sick in the head. This is what they do. This is their life. This is what they got to look on. They got to look back on this years from now when they do things like this. I don't block these type of people. I don't really care. Say what you want. It's the internet. I don't block these type of people. They're disgusting. They got to live with themselves being like this. That's not my life. That's not who I am. They're the sick individual. That's their life. They got to live with themselves. So I don't block them. Let him be who he is. He's showing his colors. This is who he is. Like I said, this is who he is. It actually is a racist term, sir. But, you know, you wouldn't know that because you're not educated. You think just because you don't use an actual racist slur, do you know there are several forms of racist words that you can use without ever actually using one of the classic racist slurs? But I'm not going to get into it. Nah, I'm not giving them enough. I'm like, you're giving them too much energy. Bro, I'm not giving them too much energy. I'm just giving them, I always see these trolls come on my, we've been here, guys, you've seen it. I've always seen these trolls come on my platform, and I always try to educate them. And I always try to guide them and say, bro, you don't want to be doing this your entire life. Like, this is just not the way of living. But I try to give the advice. You choose to live your life however you want. It is what it is. Man, I am talking a lot. He's not a real Raiders fan because Raiders fans are sad and pissed off. I'm not gonna lie. Go to Max Crosby on his Twitter page. He posts his video, that 12-minute video where he's giving his thanks to Raider Nation and, you know, everything that the organization and the fans have done for him. Legitimately, go look at those comments and see what the Raider fans are saying. A lot of them are not giving him positive praise. Again, if you don't understand how rubber lips isn't racist, I don't need to explain that to you. Everybody in the comment section that actually understands these type of terms that have been used for a long time. Dude, I'm pretty sure, isn't that something that John Gruden also used? Didn't John Gruden also use rubber lips? Or was it a different aspect? You know what? I don't even need to pander to this. If you don't understand it, I just educated you. That's not a thing you want to say, bro. But hey, that's you. You said it. That's what you chose to say. That's who you are. That's your choice, buddy. The internet's free. You are free to say whatever you want. It's here forever. That's what you said. If you don't understand what you said, I hope, legitimately, I hope you actually didn't, like, incidentally, you didn't know what you were actually saying, and now you're being educated on that. I hope you learned from that, man. Because like I said, I always try to guide and educate people. I'm not perfect myself, but it's the internet. You don't want to be saying these things and it's here forever. And then all of a sudden someone pulls something up 10 years later because people have been doing that. Someone pulls up 10 years later and like, this is what you were saying. And you're like, back then I was a different person and all that other stuff. If you're a young person saying this, you don't want this to be on the internet, man. But yeah, if you go look at Max Crosby's Twitter page on the video that he was saying his goodbyes, dog, I'm seeing a lot of Raiders fans going at this man. There's a good chunk of, there's a lot of Raiders fans that are definitely devastated and sad because this guy was a cornerstone player for their franchise. But I've also seen a lot of Raiders fans that were ready to move off of him. So I think it's kind of a mixed bag right now in the Max Crosby situation. Either way, I hope the Raiders are able to utilize those picks. I hope they're able to utilize those picks and do something with them, because we always like to fantasize about having all these first-round picks, all these picks together, but we forget you can still end up completely blowing it in the draft. And the guys you draft aren't guaranteed to succeed. And if you end up having a couple of duds with your top-tier drafts, or you end up completely whiffing in the draft, that can set you back. But I think the Raiders are going to be fine. I think they know what they're doing up there. You got the picks. I hope they can get the right players. Obviously, you got to get your quarterback. They're probably going to go with Mendoza. They believe that's the guy. And they're going to look to build an offensive. You got to go watch the video. Yeah, go watch the video. If you look on Twitter, you'll see a lot of Raiders fans that A good chunk of them are very, saying farewell, thank you for everything you've done for Raider Nation, and then a bunch of them are just directly saying bye, we're glad you're gone, and all this other stuff, man. I looked it down, I was like, damn, I did not know they felt like that. Is Netflix coming out with a One Piece movie or series? Yeah, season 2 of the live action's coming out next week. So if you're interested in watching it and you didn't watch season 1, now is your time to go watch season 1 of the live action One Piece. Because season 2 is coming out next week. But yeah, I really hope the Raiders do ultimately. I do hope the Raiders do use these picks correctly. If they believe Mendoza's the guy, you draft Mendoza. And then you build. You get him a receiver. You get him an offensive line. You're going to have to also rebuild some of the trenches in your defense. But I think they should really spend the draft focusing more on the offense because you want to be able to get that centerpiece for your offense. And then from there, you build around them. So you don't want Mendoza to have to walk here and it's like not a good offensive line. Build a offensive line for him and get him a weapon. You got the draft picks. Yeah, that's great, bro. That's great, bro. That's great. That's great. That's great. That's great, dude. Like I said, you are who you are. This is who you are as a person. That's not me. You choose to live your life speaking this way, being racist and being a disgusting human being. That's your choice in life. That's not my choice in life. You want to be a disgusting human being? Live like a disgusting human being. It's fine. You want to troll on the internet? It's fine. It's your life, dude. It's your life. Like I said, it is your life. At the end of the day, if this is what you want to do with your life, this is what you want to do with your life. We all get to live our lives how we choose to live. And when we pass on, whatever we leave on earth is our legacy. If this is what you want to choose to do with your life, if this is what you want to leave here, that's your life, man. If this is what you want to look back on and saying, this is what I was doing on the internet and this is what I was saying, that's cool, man. Who's he talking to? Oh, he's being racist and talking about my lips, because all black people got these big lips and stuff. And he's talking about rubber lips. It's actually a racist term, which John Gruden, by the way, also used. It is a racist, and I'm not even going to explain it to you. I'm not. But again, this is your choice. This is your life. If this is who you want to be in life, hey, man, you got it. This is who you choose to be. That's not me. You choose to be this way? You want to be racist? You want to be disgusting? Fine. That's your life, man. Breaking news, the Raiders are preparing to close Linderbaum and want to make him the highest paid center. Is that a report that came out? Because I haven't been on Twitter much. I think obviously there's a lot of teams that are going to be, there's a lot of teams that are going to be targeting Linderbaum. But if you've seen what's been happening recently, yeah, again, you're still saying racist things. Because, again, going after someone's lips, again, that is a racist. I'm not even going to. If you don't get it, you don't get it. This is who you are. You choose to be this way, bro. You keep pretending you're not racist. You're clearly showing your signs. Everybody in the chat see who you are. You keep at it, dude. That's your life. That's your legacy. That's who you are as a person. That's who you are in essence. Fine. Do what you got to do, bro. But, yeah, I think the Tyler Linderbaum thing is actually getting really funny. Because we'll have to talk about that a little later, but I don't know if his market's as big as you think it is. Or as big as he and his agent think it is. I don't know if he's going to get $25 million. Based off of some of the recent moves that teams have been making to get a center, I don't know if Linderbaum going to be getting $25 million. Nope. Again, if you don't understand it, bro, that's on you. I would recommend you do some research, but clearly you want to continue to speak this way. That's your choice, man. Do you, bro. Do you. I've had people come here and troll in other ways. None of them were saying racist things. You have chosen to take this aspect. Go at it, my guy. Go at it. But yeah, Raiders fans have been mixed with their aspects in that. They've been very mixed with their aspects there. So I don't know how Raiders fans feel about the trade. in terms of how they feel about Max Crosby, because I've seen a lot of people show a lot of negative feelings towards him, as well as some positive ones. So that is a good aspect there. That is a good aspect there. I just hope we don't bring. Hey, purple. Hey, purple man, chill out. Chill out. We don't. Chill out. We don't need to have that type of bad luck, bro. We don't need to bring that sort of bad energy here, man. Let's chill out. Let's chill out. Let's chill out. Let's calm it down, purple. Let's calm it down. You know I don't like to put that into the air. Let's chill out. I'm a Broncos fan, and I finally have some Ravens players on my fantasy. That's pretty good. I mean, usually you would want to have Derrick Henry and Kyle Hamilton. You're pretty good on that if you need defense play. But I mean, Derrick Henry for the most part. At this point, I'm tired of the shenanigans with Linderbaum. If he signs, cool. If not, cool. There will be veteran centers that will be cheaper in free agency. That is fair. That is fair. We should probably talk about the Linderbaum thing next, because we are going to move from Max Crosby to what the Ravens have to do next heading into free agency. Still seeing Bills fans in the Ravens posts commenting about Max. Oh my god. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. It's just gotten to a point where I don't engage with anybody on Twitter in terms of replying to comments. Nowadays, it's just a bunch of... You got so many Bills fans in the Ravens timeline and mentions. You got a bunch of Ravens fans in the Bills timeline and mentions. It's just gotten tired. I'm tired of the constant bickering. I don't care what a Bills fan has to say about my team. And a Bills fan should not care about what a Ravens fan has to say about their team. I'm tired of the bickering, so I just don't get involved nowadays. If there's Bills fans that want to be in our mentions and comment section talking trash, they're free to do so. If there's Ravens fans that want to do that on Bills Mafia's page, by all means do so. I recommend those Bills fans don't engage with those Ravens fans. But hey, it's your choice. I'm not here to tell you how to go about things, especially on the internet, but it is your choice. Somebody didn't get attention, girl. Oh, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, I ain't gonna worry about that. But yeah. We can move to the Linderbaum thing next. So, Baltimore makes that big splash move. And then from there, they have to now turn their attention to free agency. But before that, there are a few things. That need to be done for the most part. The Ravens making the move for Max Crosby is probably also breaking this now too. Obviously, this came out a couple hours ago. The Ravens re-signed Tyler Huntley to a 2-year deal, so he is going to be the Ravens' backup quarterback for the next 2 years. That 100% guarantees the Ravens are going to, at some point, release Cooper Rush. Thank God. Cooper Rush was a disaster. EDC did not cook. He did not cook at all. With the Cooper Rush. That was terrible. That was a terrible decision. You should have never let Tyler Huntley leave. You brought him back. He's here for the next 2 years. That's good. Funny thing about it is the Max Crosby trade and the Tyler Huntley trade, they can't really... Those moves don't really work. Heading into the start of free agency, those don't really work if they haven't figured out the Lamar Jackson cap situation. So the fact that they've done both of those indicates to me that the Ravens most likely have gotten something done with Lamar. Worst case scenario, it's a restructure. Best case scenario, it's an extension. But most likely, in order to make those deals work, they have got to have this Lamar Jackson cap situation done or figured out by the time free agency starts. So the assumption is they've probably gotten that done. Whether it's a restructure or an extension, most likely an extension, they probably are at the final stages if it's not done yet. So this is most likely going to get done before the start of free agency. So just getting that out the way. Next up, what's going on, Sam? Appreciate you, man. Next up, Tyler Linderbaum. I got to pull this up here. So Tyler Linderbaum is set to He's set to be the highest paid center. He's going to have a huge market heading into free agency, especially because there are a good chunk of teams that could use a center. However, things have gotten interesting here. Today, I mean, if you've seen, a few teams have been trading for centers. They've been trading for centers or signing a center. Today, the Bills gave center Connor McGovern a 4-year, $52 million deal that's $32 million guaranteed. That is $13 million a year. If you actually take a look at the total in terms of yearly stuff, in terms of yearly salaries for the centers, I think Creed Humphrey's still at the top with like $18 million. So the highest paid center right now is $18 million. Teams have been making moves to either trade for a center or they've been signing for a center that's well within the market value, that's still not even close to reaching that $18 million mark. So the highest paid center as of right now is making $18 million a year. Tyler Linderbaum's agent has convinced him that he's going to be making you could go on the market and make somewhere between $22 and $25 million a year. EDC, back during his combine press conference, said that they offered Tyler Linderbaum a market-setting deal, which means it's somewhere between maybe $19 million and $21 million, or maybe closer, it's probably $19 or $20 million. So it is a record-setting deal. It is a market-setting deal, but it may not be what the agent thinks Tyler Linderbaum can get. It's possible the Ravens offered him a deal where he's getting $19 million or $20 million a year. But his agents got him convinced he can get $22, $23, $24, maybe even $25 million a year. So because of that, you're in this situation now. Now, me personally, I'm not paying Tyler Linderbaum $22 million a year. I wouldn't do that. I don't care what team it is. I wouldn't do that. The highest I'm willing to go is $20 million a year. If he's going to reset the market, 20 is fair. If he's going to reset the market, 20 is fair. 20, that is something that's resetting the market. You'll get $2 million more a year than the previous highest paid center. And Linderbaum's one of the best centers in football. We're not doubting that. But he's not so much better than everybody else that he deserves 22, 23, 20. No center's making 20 plus million. You want to reset the market at a fair value. The highest is getting paid 18. So get paid 20. That's fair. That's $2 million more a year. You're resetting the market. That's fair. That is fair. But 22, 23, 24, 25 million, that's insanity. You don't leapfrog the best center in the league by $8 million. I agree. And yes, Creed is better. Creed is the best center. Creed Humphrey's the best center in football. Tyler Linderbaum's within the top 5, maybe arguably top 3, however you look about it. But he's not the best center in football. However, when it comes to business, when it comes to the market value, when it comes to these professional athletes, when it's your turn, you get an opportunity to reset the market. That's fair. That's fine. We're okay with that. But dude, you are not $4 million a year better than Creed Humphrey. You're not $5 million, $6 million, $7 million, $8 million a year better than Creed Humphrey. You're not. You're not. So with that being said, a lot of people are watching closely on this Linderbaum situation. There's a good chunk of teams that are actively looking. They're actively looking to get Tyler Linderbaum. However, I don't know how much they're willing to give up a year. The best center in football is getting paid $18 million a year. Who's really interested in giving a center that's not even better than Creed Humphrey $22 million, $23 million, $24 million, $25 million a year? I don't think anybody's willing to do that. So when I look at that, that's when I sit back and say, I don't know if this situation's going to work out for Tyler Linderbaum and his agent. And if they're looking at how things are going, because there's teams that are getting centers right now. There are teams that are getting centers right now. There are teams that are signing centers, re-signing their centers, going out and getting a center, trading for a center. There are teams that are making these moves because they're looking at this and realizing everybody else is well within the market. And Tyler Linderbaum's not the best center in football. So why should I pay that dude $25 million? I don't see it. Tyler Linderbaum absolutely deserves an opportunity to reset the market. He absolutely deserves an opportunity to reset the market. But there's a limit to how much you should be able to reset the market, especially since you're not the best center in football. You're one of the best, but not the best. You are not $5 million a year better than Creed Humphrey. Somebody will overpay him. Previous weeks, I was thinking somebody was willing to overpay him, but I don't know if there's good. If you're a team that's trying to compete, I don't know if there's a team that's going to be willing to give him $25 million or 25, 24, 23, even 22. I don't know. I don't know if there's anybody that's going to be willing to pay that much, because the question's going to come up in these conversations with his agent. They're going to start asking themselves, dude, how much, if he is, which he's not, how much better would he be in comparison to Creed Humphrey? First of all, no one's going to sit back and say he's better than Creed Humphrey. And even if you believe that, he's not $5 million a year better. He's not $5 million a year better than Creed Humphrey. He's not. I just don't. I don't think that he's going to get that top value. But at the same time, this is the National Football League. And when teams are desperate, they're going to take huge swings. Cleveland's paying for it to this day. They're paying for it to this day. They're paying for it to this day. They gave a fully guaranteed contract to Deshaun Watson, and he's not even in their current or future plans. They're trying to figure out what they can do to get out of that. You'll have teams that are going to reach. So I'm sure there's going to be some desperate team that might be willing to throw that number out. You might get a desperate team that might be willing to throw that number out. And if that happens and Linderbaum wants to take the money, hey, all the best to you, my guy. Best of luck wherever you go. Probably won't be going to a contending team because none of the contending teams are going to do that. None of the teams are going to do that. None of the contending teams are going to agree to that. There's no contending team out there that's going to sign a center for $25 million, for $24 million, $23 million, $22 million. It's not going to happen. Especially because they know the best center in football is getting paid $18 million a year. Yeah, you want to reset the market, which is why $20 million a year works. You might be able to get them to crack and give you $21 million a year. But anything above that is insane. Only the Raiders, I don't think the Raiders would. I mean, the thing about it is the Raiders do have the cap space. But do you want to start things off by paying a center $25 million just to secure him? Are you sure you want to pay him $25 million a year? You got all these draft picks that you're working with. You want to do that? If they want to do that, that's fine. If they want to do that, that's fine. $25 million a year for him, by all means. At the end of the day, that's a team that is looking to rebuild. So if they want to do that, they can do that. They have the freedom to. I just don't think a contending team's giving up that type of money. You can't go to a contending team and assume they're going to pay a center $25 million. I especially a center that's not even the best center in football. There, honestly, if we're sitting here talking about Creed Humphrey, you might have a better shot to really sit back and say it's more reasonable to pay Creed Humphrey $23 million a year. Like, people would sit back and say, I don't like paying that much for a center, but this is the best center in football. Tyler Linderbaum is not the best center in football. He's one of the best centers, but he's not the best center. He has the right and freedom to be able to set the market, but he's not the best center in football. But hey, if there is a desperate team out there or a team that's actively rebuilding that needs that cornerstone center, like the Raiders, because they're going to draft Mendoza, if the Raiders want to pay him $25 million a year, all the best to you, Linderbaum. Best of luck in Las Vegas. Wouldn't bat an eye. I would not want the Ravens to pay Tyler Linderbaum $23 million a year. That's insane. I'm right at that $19 million a year, $20 million a year range. I could be convinced for 21. Anything past that, you're insane. You're insane. He's not $5 million a year more better than the best center in football in Creed Humphrey. He's not. He's not. Nah. So, with all this being said, because of how teams have been really they've been really looking to fill up the center role, and we're watching teams right now. I think the Bears traded for it was the Bears or the Patriots. One of the two traded for a center. I think it was the Bears, because the Bears center retired. They went and traded for a center. The Chargers got their center situation figured out. The Bills just signed their center today. Teams are getting centers, and there's going to be centers available in free agency. I'm sure there's going to be a good, fair amount of people that are going to go after Tyler Linderbaum if he hits free agency. But I don't know if there's going to be a lot of teams that's going to want to negotiate with an agent that's asking for $24 million, $25 million, $23 million a year. Those are going to be quick negotiations. So I don't know. At the end of the day, EDC said he offered Linderbaum a market-setting deal, which means he's probably making $1 to $2 more million a year better than Creed Humphrey. But if he feels he can go get more in free agency, he's free to test it out. He may end up on a team like the Raiders that's actively rebuilding, but hey, he'll get paid. He'll get paid. Yeah, Bears got Garrett Bradbury. That's who they got. Yeah. So the Bears got their center situation figured out. So do the Chargers. So do the Bills. At the end of the day, if Linderbaum wants to go... What? Honestly, I think that might have already been said. Hold on. Lamar's extension has to get done first. I agree, but I'm pretty sure it's in the final stages if it's not done, because they traded for Max Crosby and they just signed Tyler Huntley to a 2-year deal. They won't be able to, like, if they go into the start of free agency, they won't be able to get those deals technically done. They won't be able to get those deals technically done if Lamar's cap situation is not figured out. So they're going to get this extension done. They're probably at the final stages. It may get announced within the next few days, but they literally, with the addition from this trade, with the addition of Max Crosby and the signing now of Tyler Huntley, they literally won't be able to have those two situations done if they don't get this cap situation figured out, which means they absolutely have to get this Lamar situation done, which they will before the start of free agency. So we will see about that. I am for sure that that's in the final stages if it's not done already, and they'll announce it within the coming days. But that's expected to be done before the start of free agency. But for the Linderbaum situation, because of the way things are going, a lot of Ravens fans are a lot more optimistic that Tyler Linderbaum could settle for the deal that EDC gave him, because teams are picking up on centers. They're not trying to pay a center $25+ million. So it's very possible. It's very possible that they potentially choose to accept what EDC gives them. It may not be what they think they could get, But with all these other teams that could have been, teams that are supposed to be contenders, the Bears are a contending team. They got their center situation figured out. The Bills are a contending team. They got their center situation figured out. The Chargers are supposed to be a contending team. They got their center situation figured out. If you're so desperate to have $25 million a year that you want to go play for the Raiders, who are actively rebuilding, that's fine. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to you. But, it is what it is. It's your choice, and yeah, you make that decision that you feel is best for your career. But yeah, because of all these recent moves, Ravens flock is very optimistic that he takes the deal EDC gives him. But again, it's up to him. If it's all about the money and getting paid $25 million to go play in Las Vegas, hey man, do your thing. I ain't gonna be mad about it. I've already got to the point where I'm like, I'm not gonna be mad if he gets signed, and I'm not gonna be mad if he does get signed. If he's back next year, cool. We got the center situation figured out. Let's get the guards fixed and our offensive line's good. If he chooses to go somewhere else, fine. We'll get a new center and figure out the offensive line situation. I'm fine with either option. But it's up to Linderbaum to figure out what he wants to do. And I hope it's a situation that he chooses as opposed to focusing on whatever his agent's trying to tell him. You could potentially get $25 million from this team and that team. Do what you feel is best for your career. You're going to reset the market one way or another. But if you feel you want to go get paid $25 million a year to go play for the Raiders, maybe the Giants will probably also do that too. They need a center. So maybe the Giants will fork over $25 million a year for Tyler Linderbaum. Who knows? But yeah, best of luck with that situation. If the Ravens can get it done before the start of free agency, cool. Linderbaum is back. If not, best of luck in free agency. Wherever he ends up, best of luck to him. Let's see. Thinking about all the bad snaps over Lamar's head, I'd pay Tyler Linderbaum. I'm fine paying him. I'm not paying him $25 million a year. He's not $7 million a year more better than the best center in football, who's Creed Humphrey. I'm not paying him $25 million a year. I don't care. I'm not giving him $25 million a year. That's too much for a center. If Creed Humphrey, the best center in football, is getting paid $18, I'm not paying Linderbaum $25. I'm not. That's insane. That is actually insane. Don't forget, we have to pay Zay Flowers too, big money. I don't know how much they're going to have to pay Zay Flowers. Again, it depends on how he's viewed. If he's viewed as one of those top-tier number ones, then yeah, they're going to have to fork over some money. But if he's viewed as an average number one or a middle-of-the-road type receiver, he's not going to get that type of money. He's not. But again, I assume Zay Flowers is going to get he's going to get a fair deal. But yeah, they do have to pay him. And the funny thing is, people trying to say they shouldn't pay him. Dude, he's been easily the most productive receiver we've had since he's been in the league. And he's had back-to-back years of 1,000 yards receiving. And in fact, he's gotten better. He's literally gotten better. Zay Flowers, matter of fact, let's pull up his stats through the first 3 years that he's been here. Forget about the 2 Pro Bowls, yada, yada, yada. We know about that. Forget about the 2 Pro Bowls. Let's look at Zay Flowers here. You can feel however you feel. We talk about Zay Flowers not running in a straight line, but again, from a statistical standpoint, Zay Flowers has been in Baltimore 3 seasons. And if you take a look at his stats, year 1, also this is really interesting. Year 1, he played 16 games, 77 catches for 858 yards and 5 touchdowns. 2024, he played 17 games, 74 catches for 1,059 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then last year, he played 17 games as well, 86 catches for 1,211 yards and 5 touchdowns. So again, he's gotten better every year of his career. If he ends up next year putting up 1,400 plus yards receiving, yeah, you're going to have to pay him. You may not like him choosing to not run in a straight line, but he's been your best receiver. And he's a 2-time Pro Bowler now, which, again, still technically means something. So, yeah. We'll see how that goes for the most part. Yeah, I love those fake reports about. Yeah, they sent Lamar to that. We get it, bro. I love when you guys come up with those fake reports. I think when it's all said and done, it'll probably be announced Monday afternoon. Probably. Yeah, we talked about Tyler Huntley getting his extension, and I said Huntley getting that extension and the Max Crosby trade, both of those can't actually be done unless they've figured out Lamar's cap situation, which mostly means they're either restructuring his contract or he's getting an extension. And I don't think they have an interest in restructuring it, so he's most likely getting the extension. So yeah, they literally can, because of where their cap space is right now, they literally cannot do the Max Crosby and the Tyler Huntley move without restructuring Lamar's contract situation. So yeah, you think Lamar will restructure his contract? No, they're gonna give him an extension. I don't think they're gonna do a restructuring. They're gonna give him an extension. I don't think he's. I don't see it getting to that point. That is a backup if it's like, okay, they can't come to a deal now. You restructure his contract and they try to figure it out later. But realistically, no, I don't see a situation where that's going to be the case. I think they'd probably just prefer to have to get they'd prefer to get the extension done now. So I think it'd be more of an extension than the restructure. Both things obviously get the job done in the immediate factor, but the extension gets it done in the short-term and long-term situation, whereas restructuring it just fixes the short-term issue. They'll still have to go to the negotiation table later on and figure this out. But I think an extension is probably most likely to happen because that's been where their focus has been. And that's actively been what the focus has been for EDC. And that's every time they've asked him about it, that's been the focus, that's been the conversation. So a restructure is going to be a last-minute thing. If we don't get a report by Monday afternoon that Lamar signed an extension, I think they would somehow pivot to doing a restructuring just to be able to make the deals that they have happen because they have to lower his cap space. They literally won't be able to do the Huntley and Crosby deal if Lamar's cap space is not lower by the time free agency starts. So, yeah. That's just how it is. Derrick Henry had a fumbling issue, but he's fine. They could get a backup running back, though. They'll probably look to get another running back, though, which I'm not saying that because of Derrick Henry. I'm saying that because I'm not fully sure what the status is going to be for Keaton Mitchell. And that is a conversation that people are going to have at some point in terms of what the Ravens are going to do with Keaton Mitchell, because at some point he is going to be a free agent sooner rather than later. And we're not sure if the Ravens are going to look to bring him back. But, it is what it is when it comes to that. These trolls are hilarious. I think they've been saying something, so I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to some of the things the trolls have been saying. I kind of passed by them. There's a lot of comments coming in, so I've been passing by them. But, yeah, he can go play for Garpal if he wants that kind of money. That's what. Yeah, the Giants can pay him. The Giants have the money. The Giants can absolutely pay Linderbaum if they want to. And I think the Giants are one of the teams that are actively going to be pursuing Tyler Linderbaum if he enters free agency. But, it is what it is. You want to risk having another Macari situation? I'm not paying him $25 million. You pay him $25 million. What, you guys, you don't. Do you believe? I'm asking you right now. Neuropsych Sports 95. Who do you believe is the best center in football? Who do you believe is the best center in football? Let me get your answer on that. Who do you think is the best center in football right now? Neuropsycho Sports 95. Who do you have as the best center in football right now? Zay will get 27 to 29 million. That's the range that you would expect for a receiver to get. Next season, Bengals 9-8, Steelers 7-10, Ravens 5-12, Browns 1-16. That won't happen, but interesting talk. What's going on, Loyal? Appreciate you stopping by. So Creed Humphrey is the best center in football. We all agreed that. We all agree that Creed Humphrey is the best center in football. Creed Humphrey is getting paid $18 million a year. Creed Humphrey is getting paid $18 million a year. He's currently the highest paid center in football. He's getting paid $18 million a year. And yet you think we should pay Tyler Linderbaum up to $25 million a year just to keep him here out of desperation. You really think that is the right move? Centers are really hard to come by. Yes, they are, but you're not going to pay a center $7 million more a year than the best center in football. That's just not a smart decision. I'm not saying you can't pay him give him a chance to reset the market. Like I said, you want to pay him $20 million? Fine. $21 million should be the max. But $25 million a year because you're desperate to keep him? I'd rather try to draft. I'd rather try free agency. I'd rather work on this. You cannot pay a center $25 million. You can't, man. You can't pay him $25 million a year. In no world does that make sense to pay him $25 million a year. And then once you pay him that, and now you're struggling to pay all these other guys, it'll be another reason why we can say, oh, EDC can't get the job done. You just paid a center $25 million a year. You thought that was okay. He is not $7 million more better than the best center in football, who's getting paid $18. Tyler Linderbaum has earned the right to reset the market. That is how it works in sports. You don't have to be the best player at your position. But when it's your time to eat, when you're one of the best and it's your time to eat, you have an opportunity to reset the market. You have an opportunity to reset the market. So paying him $20 million a year, which is $2 million more than Creed Humphrey, fine. $21 million a year, which is $3 more than Creed Humphrey, fine. But 25? 25 in order to keep him? Because they'll have to outbid all these other 25? You're going to pay a center $25 million? Because you're that desperate to keep him when he's not even the best center in football. That's insanity. That's insanity. That's insanity. Okay, what would you tell Texas fans? What would you tell Texas fans about the Daniel Hunter 40? They paid him. It was a 1-year deal. That's different. That's a 1-year deal for $40 million to keep him here. He is worth that value. And the Texans only give him 1 year because they can't afford to pay him long term. But they want to keep this going for another year. That's not a terrible thing to give him a 1-year deal because it's a 1-year deal. It's a 1-year deal. It's not a multi-year deal. If they're paying him $40+ million for multiple years, he is worth that money. But the Texans can't afford that, which is why they did a 1-year deal. All right. There's going to be options in free agency for centers. And I'm not going to be happy with taking some of these veteran guys, even if they are solid. What's going on to my guys at the lunch break hot take? Appreciate you guys tuning in. But yeah, I get it. I get the desperation of wanting to keep Linderbaum. But we all know Creed Humphrey is the best center in football. The best center in football. And he's getting paid $18 million. You cannot convince me. I know you guys are saying we can't afford to lose him. We can't be without a center. Who's gonna be the other options? We can't take that risk. But Creed Humphrey is the best center in football. And you guys are sitting here and trying to convince me that we should pay him $25 million to ensure we can keep him here because his agent's telling him he can get $25+ million if he goes in the free agency. The Raiders can pay him that money because they've got the space for that. The Giants might take a swing. But Tyler Huntley is not $7 million more better than the best. Not Tyler Huntley, excuse me. Tyler Linderbaum is not $7 million a year more better than the best center in football, and Creed Humphrey is getting paid $18. I understand he's going to reset the market, and that's fine. He's earned that right. That's what happens in sports. But resetting the market should realistically be by $2 or $3 million. So $21 million a year, that is reasonable. I'd want it to be 20, but it is reasonable because, again, this is just how it works. Even though he's not the best, he's one of the best centers, but he's not the best center. That's just how the market works. It is what it is. But I can't sit here in good conscience and say that they should give him $25 million to guarantee he stays here. That's insane. That is actually insane. Can't do that. You can't. So if you end up losing him, you end up losing him. But I don't know if there's going to be a lot of teams that's willing to fork over $25 million a year for Tyler Linderbaum, knowing he's not the best center in football. I'd take my chances here, both in the draft and free agency. I can't pay him $25 million because some of you guys are also talking about it in the chat. We also need to fix this receiver room. In case you hadn't noticed, we got to fix our entire interior offensive line, but we also have to fix the receiving core. In case you hadn't noticed, DeAndre Hopkins, free agent. Tylan Wallace, free agent. Your receiving room is essentially Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Tez Walker. You know they have to address that, right? You know they have to fix that as well. So you want to pay a center $25 million a year and then try to figure out how to fix this interior offensive line and then go get some quality receivers. I don't know how you expect all that to work. Even when you restructure Lamar's contract, I don't know how you expect all that to occasionally, like, how do you expect all that to happen at once? You pay Linderbaum $25 million a year, and you still think you're going to get a top-tier receiver or a quality receiver or quality receivers because you're going to need multiple receivers, and you'll still be able to fix the interior offensive line together. Like, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Like, realistically, it's just not going to happen. Hunter is 31 years old, though. You're right, which is why I said a one-year deal is better than giving him a multiple-year deal. And again, guys, you guys put these numbers out. Myles Garrett is 30 years old. He's the best defensive player in football. He's shown no signs of stopping, and he's 1 year younger than Danielle Hunter, who also had an elite year for the Texans and has shown no sign of slowing down. Your late 20s to your early 30s is your prime. If he was 35, we're having a different conversation. But he's 31 years old. He's still got plenty of juice left. I don't know why we put these out. Somebody literally in the comments early on when I was talking about Max Crosby was like, oh man, the Ravens really traded for a 29-year-old edge rusher. What is 29 old? What age are we living in that 29 years old is all of a sudden out of your prime? Hell, yeah, Khalil Mack just got 18 years. 18 years. He just got a 1 year, $18 million deal. It all depends on how you structure the deals. It can all happen. If you're trying to win, then you have to make those moves. You know, I got to ask you guys, though, since you guys are here, would you feel comfortable giving Tyler Linderbaum, knowing he's not the best center in football? The best center in football is Creed Humphrey. Would you guys feel comfortable with the Ravens giving him $25 million a year in order to keep him here? Because at the very least, in free agency, there's a good chance he's getting $25 million a year. If not more than that. A team like the Raiders that has a lot of cap space could really give him a lot just to secure him because they need a cornerstone center for Mendoza when they draft him. So would you guys feel comfortable giving, knowing he's not the best center in football? The best center in football is Creed Humphrey. He's getting paid $18 million a year. Would you guys feel comfortable with Baltimore spending $25 million a year to keep Linderbaum here? Because, again, I was fine 2021. That was my range for Linderbaum. 2021 was my range. I was stopping at 21. But I don't feel comfortable with 25. I would love to get your take. Because I don't know about $25 million a year for Tyler Linderbaum, knowing he's not the best center in football. $25 million a year. Creed Humphrey isn't available and we have no viable replacements for him. He's Creed Humphrey for us. He is. But to give him $25 million, that is $7 million more than what that's also going to absolutely destroy the market for centers moving forward. If he ends up getting 25. For the center market to jump from 18 million to 25 million would completely destroy the market. But again, it's always going to be rising. That would just be an incredible rise. But you guys would actually feel comfortable giving him $25 million a year. And yeah, there's a possibility this could work. I think you would have to restructure some contracts. I think you would definitely have to restructure some contracts, which I think at the end of the day, I think people have been begging ADC to restructure Humphrey and Roquan's contract, which you could. Yeah, that's how the market works. Absolutely, I agree. But I don't know if that big of a jump. That big of a jump is definitely going to. That's a big jump over one season because the salary cap is always rising on a yearly basis. But to go from centers getting 18 million all the way through to getting 25 million, that is a tough jump. And that is a major gamble. Yeah, we've been actively saying Marlon Humphrey and Roquan Smith, both their contracts got to be restructured. But they asked EDC about it, and apparently he has not brought up that conversation with them. But, But I don't know, guys. I don't know. That one right there is a bit steep for me. I was fine with 21 million a year for him. But to give him 25, I don't know, man. That's a bit steep. It is a gamble, though, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd feel fully comfortable giving Tyler Linderbaum 25 million a year to keep him here. And even so, I'm not fully sure 25 would be enough because with the way his agent's talking, 25 million seems to be the bar. So I have no idea what his agent's putting in his brain. And knowing the Raiders could probably give him whatever he wants just to keep him there, it could be past 25. But I'm just throwing 25 out there because people are estimating that he'll get 25. It's possible it's around 22 or 23, but people are estimating he's going to get at least 25 million a year. Can't go cheap on protecting your best player. I agree on that. But 25 million is kind of steep. And what would be the game plan to fix the interior offensive line? As well as the receiving core. Because they'll still have to do that. I'm not going to get on the defensive side. You can bring small, cheap veteran pieces. You got your player in Max Crosby. I think you can get small pieces here and there. You need a corner. Bring back. No, I was about to say Alohi Gilman. No, he can go. God, I'm literally blanking out on his name right now. Oh my God, I literally can't think about his name right now. What is that? Oh my God, I literally cannot think his name right now because I'm absolutely blanking out. For the defense, again, you could get small veteran pieces. You can add a veteran corner. You can add another veteran piece on your defensive line for cheap. You're fine with that. No, not Ardarius Washington. I'm not talking about Darius Washington. Oh my God, his name is. I'm legit thinking about it right now, and I cannot. It's just not hitting right now. It is absolutely not hitting. It's not Ardarius Washington. It's not Ardarius Washington. Yes, Chidobe Awuzie. I think with the defense, you can get small veteran pieces for the defense. I think with this Max Crosby trade, you can spend minimal here on the defense because you got to go heavy on fixing the offensive line. You got to. You got to go heavy on fixing the offensive line, and you've got to be able to invest in the receiving core. Because right now, essentially, your receiving core is Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Tez Walker. You've got to go heavy in getting that receiving core fixed as well as the offensive line. So again, $25 million. I'm not saying the Ravens shouldn't do it. I would just be a little bit uncomfortable with giving 21. I'm all for it. 25? That's where it'd be concerning. If we can't afford to fix the entire O-line and sign a good wide receiver, then trading for Max Crosby was a big mistake. That is fair. No way he's getting $25 million a year. I can tell you that. But again, his agent. And because of the way things are going and the way things are looking, especially for a team like the Raiders that are actively looking, the Raiders have a lot of money. They got all the cap space in the world. So if he goes to free agency, the Raiders can pay him whatever he wants. So he can get $25 million from the Raiders. That's why I threw out, would we feel comfortable with it? Now, it's possible. I think there is a possibility where EDC can make this work. It's going to take, obviously, Lamar's got to sign that extension, but it's going to take, they're going to have to restructure both Marlon Humphrey and Roquan Smith's contracts to make that work, which they should already do in the first place. But Apparently, we asked EDC. He has not talked to either one of those guys about doing that, but that should be done. However, I don't know, man. I'd be, if the Ravens want to do it because they feel they have no other option, so be it. Let's do it. Hopefully, they'll have a plan to get the situation figured out with the other offensive guards, and they'll be able to get him a quality receiver. Because that's where my mindset is. I'm trying to think of this aspect of, yes, I want to keep Linderbaum here, but we got to fix the entire interior offensive line, and we got to deal with the receiving situation because we only got really 3 receivers on the roster. Paying them $25 million would make me uncomfortable. But if the Ravens really look at this and say, we don't think we have another option, we have to get this done and we got to take this. It's not Ronnie's situation, because Ronnie Stanley's situation last year, he was on his 3rd contract. So he took a team-friendly deal. It made sense with what Ronnie Stanley got. Linderbaum is on his 2nd contract. This is where you're supposed to get paid. This is where you make the big bucks. If the Ravens pay him $25 million, I don't know, man. I'm not against it I'm not going to dismiss it. If the Ravens sit back and say we looked at all the other options and come to a realization that we cannot afford to lose Linderbaum, and they say we'll fork over $25 million, so be it. I wouldn't feel comfortable with 25. I would hope it's 21. But 25, I just don't think, again, he's not the best center in football. Creed Humphrey is, and he's not $7 million a year better than Creed Humphrey. But if it's gotten to that point where the Ravens do feel like they desperately need to keep Linderbaum, they might. They might go for that. My number is around $21 million. I think that would be perfectly fair because he resets the market and gets paid. But 25? But again, you are correct about that. If we can't afford to fix our entire offensive line and sign a wide receiver, then trading for Max Crosby was a mistake, because Max Crosby literally solves your problem for your pass rushing unit. That allows you to sign a lot more veterans, cheap veterans, to kind of retool the defense. Because on the defense, it's really about fixing the trenches on the defensive line. If you're getting Nnamdi Madubuike back, then you really only need one more piece there. And that one more piece that you could really look to do is essentially bring back Draymond Jones. Bring back Draymond Jones, and you would essentially have fixed everything you're looking for on that D-line. You may draft a defensive player to add to the D-line, but essentially you won't have to invest in that in free agency. And then the other aspect on the defense that you got to fix is just getting another corner. So you could look to bring back Chidobe Awuzie and then maybe sign another corner for cheap. I don't think the Ravens need to heavily invest in defense. They need to heavily invest on their offense. They got to fix their offensive line, and they've got to get the receiving situation figured out. So 25, that's difficult, man. That's difficult. I hope the Ravens figure it out. I really hope they do, but I hope it doesn't get to that point where it's $25 million a year. But I do hope they get that figured out. Hey, same old story here with some of this. I'm just checking to see if there's any late news here. Trying to see if there's any news here for the most part. The latest news so far was the Khalil Mack signing. Khalil Mack's going back to the Chargers on a 1-year deal worth $18 million. It's actually a fully guaranteed contract, so he's getting paid $18 million a year. Yeah, that's fine. At Calais Campbell, I think that ship might have sailed. Give me a second, guys. I got a phone call here. All right, I have some stuff I got to take care of, so we're going to wrap this up. But I know I'll be back because free agency is getting ready to start. And we all know once free agency starts, this is going to be the most crucial free agency for the Ravens in franchise history. It's a new era. It's a new age, and EDC's job's on the line. He has no choice, zero choice. He has to deliver here. He cannot mess up here. He's got to be aggressive in free agency. His job is literally on the line. His job is literally on the line. Can't believe people wanted Mac. I wanted him on the cheap deal. Just add him. Again, it's another veteran piece to add to the defense so he can play right next to. He'd be playing right next to Max Crosby and Matabike. I'd have been fine with it. However, paying him $18 million, nah. I could see why he went back to the Chargers. If we were to get him on a cheaper deal, I'd have been cool with it. $18 million? Hey, bro, go back to the Chargers. You got it. Maybe they could look to retain Draymond Jones. They could try to bring him back. That would be he was good for us, and having him work with an actual pass rush would be great. But they're gonna look to get some pieces here. And no, I don't think anyone actually believes that. We all collectively have said no, it's not gonna happen. But it's not gonna happen. They're not paying him that type of money. He'll go get money wherever. Somebody's gonna pay him top dollar to an extent. But Dafe always really. I'm kidding. Ravens should get Cam Jordan. They may go for that. Again, they can be cheap on defense. If there's any time they should be cheap on defense, now is the time. Now is the time. You have to fix your offensive line and your receiving core. This is the time you traded for Max Crosby. You can be cheap when it comes to free agency, when it comes to that defense. You need a corner, and you need to add one or two pieces to that D-line. That's it. You got Max Crosby, who's your cornerstone. Go fix the offensive line. Go fix the offensive line and the receiving core. But we'll have to see. Lamar's play is declining. He's not getting any younger either. Man, please explain to me how Lamar Jackson's. I've been seeing that the last few days. Please explain to me how Lamar Jackson's play is declining. Please explain to me how his play is declining. Because Lamar in 2024 put up 41-4. Please explain to me how Lamar Jackson is declining. Because I'll address that here and then I'll head on out. Because we'll obviously, continue this conversation as we get closer and closer to free agency. And I'm sure the Ravens are going to deliver some news within the coming days before free agency. But, I would love to hear how Lamar's play is declining. Like I can wait for that. I would love to. What's his name? Alikim 5377. How is Lamar Jackson's play declining? Lamar's play is declining just like Michael Vick can't outrun dudes anymore. This is based off of last year, correct? Is this based off of last year? Lamar is still good, but the Cincinnati Thanksgiving game concerned me. He kept turning the ball over. So based off of this year, he's declining. Okay. I guess, if you're a Bills fan, you should be concerned about Josh Allen turning the ball over 5 times in the playoff game. Younger Josh Allen never turned the ball over 5 times. He turned over 4 times. 4 times in the playoff game. Physically, he's not running around like he used to. Oh, you mean based off of last year? Last year, when he had multiple injuries. Let's forget about the ankle injury that he had for several weeks, and the knee injury, and the back injury, as well as the hamstring injury that he had. So the several injuries that actively affected him throughout the season is your reasoning for why Lamar Jackson is declining. Okay. Keep this in mind. Lamar Jackson last year, when he went, Lamar Jackson last season, during the 2024 season, Lamar Jackson, when he threw 41 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, he had 915 rushing yards. That was when he was healthy. Last year, he was banged up for much of the year, suffered a hamstring injury, plus a knee, plus an ankle injury that he was dealing with. Injuries throughout the year. Injuries throughout the year. Prior to him suffering those injuries, he was leading the league in multiple passing statistics. Matter of fact, let me see if I still have those numbers here. Let me see. Damn, I wish I had these numbers. I wish I would have had these numbers. I could have sworn I had these numbers somewhere. Let's see. Lamar Jackson, in the first 5 games that he had completed this season, 73% completion, 250 total yards, 9.1 yards per pass, which again was first in the league, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 136. This is when he was healthy. But all of a sudden, he's declining because he was banged up this year behind one of the worst offensive lines in football when he got sacked the most amount of times in his career. But he's declining because he wasn't protected all year. Yet how did he decline from September to this? So the decline happened in the middle of the year because when he started the year, y'all said he wasn't outrunning people. He was doing he had 70 yards rushing and was actively outrunning people in the Buffalo Bills game. But all of a sudden, he declined from September to November. Just declined out of nowhere. Even though we clearly understood he had suffered a hamstring injury, missed time for that, came back, suffered an ankle injury, suffered a knee injury. All right. All right. So again, the year before he did have 41-4 touchdown ratio, but also had Todd Monken, who went to Cleveland now. Yeah, the same Todd Monken that he had last year. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was muted. I was on the phone. But yeah, I just read your comment. The year before he had 41-4 touchdown to interception ratio, but he also had Todd Monken. Yeah, he also had Todd Monken in 2025. And prior to him getting hurt, he was leading the league in touchdowns. He was also top 5 in completion percentage and several other passing statistics before he got hurt against Kansas City. So this aspect of him declining, you're basically telling me he declined from September when he was healthy to December. So he declined during the season. So we actively saw Lamar decline, even though we all knew he was on the injury report for damn near half the season because he was dealing with an ankle, he was dealing with the knee, he was coming off the hamstring, and then he ended up dealing with the back injury. So he's declining because he's banged up throughout the year. We actively saw Falele and Voorhees get this man killed on Sundays, and yet all of a sudden that's enough to just assume he's declining. And I hear this thing, as a running quarterback, these things will happen more often as he ages. Joe Burrow has been out. He's missed just as much games as Lamar. He's not a running quarterback. And that dude's had 2 surgeries. But nobody says this about Joe Burrow. I understand. The mantra that's put on running quarterbacks, the belief that's put on running quarterbacks, the mantra, the belief, running quarterbacks don't last long. They don't got a long career, yada, yada, yada. We can go through the list of all these running quarterbacks that played over a decade in the league, but that's beyond the point. We have this talking point about these running quarterbacks. At what point are we just going to sit here and come to an understanding that Lamar's just not the norm? I'm not saying that the mantra of running quarterbacks, I'm not saying that mantra isn't accurate, Because you're watching Justin Fields, and I don't know how long his career is going to go. Kyler Murray tore his ACL, and now he's out of Arizona. I get it. I get the mantra that we have. But we may have to come to a point where we just understand that Lamar just doesn't fit the norm. Maybe he's just the outlier. We could be sitting here in 5 years and this guy could be doing the same thing he's doing now. Maybe he's just the outlier. Because a lot of things we said about these running quarterbacks they can't do, Lamar's done. A lot of things we said he couldn't do, Lamar's done. We had the same conversation 3 years ago when he was coming off of back-to-back seasons of season-ending injuries because he got hurt late in the season. Keep in mind, those weren't situations where he had to get surgery. He just got hurt late in the year, and it was going to be a long period of time for him to heal. If he had gotten hurt at the beginning of the season, he would have came back. But he got hurt towards the end of the year, so he didn't come back. Back-to-back years of missing the end of the year with season-ending injuries. We had this conversation 3 years ago. People were saying he was done. Go trade for Justin Fields like Nick Wright was saying. You shouldn't give him a contract. And yet they gave him a contract. And since they gave him that contract, the first year he won MVP and took his team to the AFC title game. And the second year, he put up another historical season. 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, the third or fourth highest passer rating of all time, all while rushing for 915 yards. And in the third year now, he got hurt. Dealt with injuries. He played through them, but he dealt with injuries. Maybe we just got to come to the point where we look at Lamar and say, he's just an outlier. We don't need to compare all these other running quarterbacks to him. He's just an outlier. The conversations we have about Kyler, the conversations we're having about Justin Fields, that fits the mantra of running quarterbacks don't lasting long. Maybe we just have to understand Lamar is just not part of that. Maybe he's just the outlier. There are outliers in sports. Maybe you're right about the mantra of running quarterbacks not lasting long. But maybe we got to come to an understanding that Lamar doesn't fit that mantra. He could just be an outlier. We could be here in 5 years and Lamar could still be doing his thing. And at that point, he'll be heading into year 15, year 14, year 15, and still doing his thing. Maybe we just got to come to an understanding. Lamar's just an outlier. He doesn't fit the mold of what we see from typical running quarterbacks, right? Even though running quarterbacks, dual threats, whatever you want to say. Maybe he's just the exception. Because we always keep saying this about Lamar, and then all of a sudden when he's doing his thing, everybody gets quiet, but then he gets nicked up, and here we go. It's only a matter of time. He's got so much time left. You said that 3 years ago. And yet here we are. So what happens in another 3 years where he's still doing his thing? And the funny thing about people talking about him running, Lamar has been on record multiple occasions, even back as early as 2020. He says he doesn't want to run. Lamar has been on record saying he doesn't want to run. He had that whole quote where he's like, I don't like to run. I like throwing touchdowns. He doesn't want to run. He wants to run less. He's got Derrick Henry as his running back. You think he want to take off? You think he want to do design runs? He don't want to do none of that crap. But you got Lamar Jackson. What offensive coordinator is not going to utilize this guy's innate ability to run with his legs? Even though Lamar don't want to do it, coaches are going to say, man, we could dial this up and take advantage of that. He got Derrick Henry in the backfield. Of course, he's going to want to. He's got Derrick Henry. He wants to hand the ball to him 30 times a game because he knows Derrick Henry can handle that. He don't want to run. That 41 touchdown, 4 interception season, he want to do more of that. He wants that 41 touchdown season. He wants the 36 touchdown season he had in 2019. He just want to throw touchdowns. He ain't trying to run the ball. He told that to y'all years ago. But he's Lamar Jackson. What offensive coordinator is not going to use his legs in their offense? I get the concerns, but we got to come to a point where we got to look at Lamar and say, you know what, brother? We know what we say about running quarterbacks, these dual threats not lasting long. You just might be the outlier. You just might be the outlier. We could be sitting here in 5 years, and that guy could still be doing his thing in the league and be one of the best quarterbacks in football. He could just be the outlier. He could just be the outlier. And I don't think people don't like to think about that, but there's outliers in sports. There's outliers in sports. We always want to use this mantra of running quarterbacks typically don't last long. Running backs don't last long into the 30s. But we saw Adrian Peterson running the ball effectively at like 38 years old. We saw Frank Gore have a 15-plus year career where he was highly effective in starting 15-plus games. There's outliers in sports. There are outliers in sports. What we're seeing with LeBron James now, there's outliers in sports. At some point, we're going to have to come to a conclusion with Lamar Jackson and just understand that he might just be an outlier. We got to come to that realization that he don't fit the norm that we're used to seeing from these typical running quarterbacks, these dual threat quarterbacks. He don't fit the mantra. So we cannot continue to utilize those mantras and those beliefs and try to put that on Lamar. Running quarterbacks don't last long. We could be here in another 5 years and Lamar could still be doing his thing. And that would be a 14-plus year career of him being the face of a franchise and still playing at a high level for a guy that wasn't supposed to last 5 years in the league. But that's just how it goes. Anyway, guys, as you can see, I had 2 phone calls within the last 5 minutes. I do have something I have to take care of, so I am going to check on out of here. We got nearly 2 hours here in the stream. Boy, whenever we talk about the Ravens, it always goes this long because there's a lot that has to be said. I'm going to read a couple comments, and then I got to head out of here because I got to handle something, and I do not want to be called a third time. They said he wasn't going to last before he came into the league and was only going to last 3 years, and he's been doing it for 8, about to be 9 years now. I'm never going to forget the offseason. Heading into the 2019 season, there were so many people that said the Ravens were going to win 6 games max. Lamar was going to be hurt by week 5, yada, yada, yada. And yet here we are now. He's still one of the best in the game and still doing what he does. But, it is what it is. Josh Allen is an outlier, too. Rarely has been injured, I've noticed. Well, nobody talks about Josh Allen in these conversations, so it's never been questioned with him. We know that. But people have these questions about Lamar Jackson. And I just feel like we got to come to a point where we understand he's an outlier. The quarterback that literally became the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 40-plus touchdowns and fewer than 5 interceptions, something Aaron Rodgers has never done. He did that while also rushing for 915 yards. He has the 4th highest passer rated season in NFL history. 41-4. Never been done. While also having 915 rushing yards. These are things we've never seen from a quarterback. Got to come to a realization, man. He's just an outlier. So I can't keep using the norms that I have for typical running quarterbacks or typical dual threats. He's just an outlier. Cannot continue to stick with those norms. We could be sitting here in 5 years. He's still doing his thing. That would be a damn near 15-year career when you guys said he was supposed to last 3. It can't keep going on. And yet we could be sitting here with him entering year 14, year 15, and still doing his thing. It's very possible. But that's a conversation that we could always have another time. Lamar doesn't want to run, but I feel he's more prone to injury from running than Allen, who would have injuries from sacks. That's an interesting theory, but Lamar hasn't really been injured running the ball. His injuries have happened in the pocket when he's trusted his offensive line to protect him, and then they don't. His injuries have happened because his offensive line has not protected him. So him taking those sacks has actually resulted in his injuries as opposed to, him taking off. But, it is what it is. Fun stream. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Man, Jeremiah, I appreciate you stopping by, but you stopped by at the worst time because we've been streaming for a couple hours and we headed on out of here. They did this with LeBron saying he was going to be done by 30. They said he was going to be done by, someone was saying he was going to be done by 30. And then someone said he was going to be done by 35. And then someone said he was going to be done by 40. And yet here he is still playing basketball. But it is what it is. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for pulling up to the stream. I appreciate you all for tuning in today. And I will talk to you guys later. I've got to head out before I get that third phone call because I got to go do what I got to go do here. So you guys enjoy the rest of your night. I'll talk to you later. If we get any updates involving the Ravens, with any major signings like a Lamar Jackson extension or maybe Tyler Linderbaum getting extended, whatever happens, I will be here to stream and we'll talk about it then. But until then, I appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you so much for pulling up to the stream, and I will see you guys later. With that being said, Muda Mike, be sure to stay safe and peace out. Good night, everybody.